organization, our board of directors, I want to thank you very much for coming out on another pleasantly warm St. Louis afternoon. It's great to have you all here and see so many good people and city boosters in the audience here for our first annual DeSales Better Neighborhoods Awards. And as many of you know, DeSales, we're a nonprofit community development corporation, been around for over 30 years, and through most of that period have operated primarily in the Fox Park and Tower Grove East neighborhoods. And for a long, long time, we've given out an award for for projects large and small within those neighborhoods. But in more recent times, we as an organization have been able to branch out to some other neighborhoods in the city and build some good collaborative relationships with other organizations in other neighborhoods. And as we look forward to this year's awards event, we thought, let's raise the profile on this a little bit and broaden it out and recognize some of the good organizations and good people that we've been able to work with in recent times. So you're going to hear some interesting stories today, and one of my pleasant tasks this afternoon is to thank a number of people, and I want to start with our sponsors of today's event, and you'll see them on the sponsor board there. You see them in your program as well. Our lead sponsor, Enterprise Bank and Trust. Our second-tier sponsors, Eagle Bank, Carrollton Bank, and BMO Harris Bank. And our third-tier sponsors, Commerce Bank, E.M. Harris Construction, Grassi and Associates, Cosney Wagner, Midwest Bank Center, PNC Bank, Pulaski Bank, Southern Commercial Bank, and U.S. Bank. Thank you all very much for sponsoring this event. And I want to give a special thank you to our host here today, City Garden Montessori School, which will shortly be moving into this great new facility, and you're going to be hearing a lot about the facility and City Garden a little bit later in the program. All I want to say is that City Garden is what charter schools were meant to be, and I just want to leave it at that. One of the relationships we've been able to build in recent years is our relationship with the Garden District Commission, which is another nonprofit community-based organization charged with the redevelopment of this neighborhood, the Botanical Heights neighborhood, formerly known, many of you know, as McCreetown, and that was a notorious neighborhood. And through the work of the Garden District Commission and its institutional sponsor, the Missouri Botanical Garden, and a lot of volunteer help and investors and rehabbers and developers coming into the neighborhood, this neighborhood is markedly improved from what it was 10, 15 years ago. And the project we're in today is an outcome of all the work that the Garden District Commission has put in, and is indicative of the strong and long-term institutional backing of the Missouri Botanical Garden under Dr. Peter Wise Jackson, and of course before that Dr. Peter Raven, and my direct supervisor, Bob Hurlith, the Executive Vice President of the Botanical Garden. Bob could not be here this evening. He made me swear to put in a plug for the Lantern Festival running now through August 19th. If you haven't been there, it's fantastic. Get over there. It's a must-see event for our city and for the Botanical Garden. But I don't want to take any more time, but I think you're going to hear some interesting stories tonight that involve collaboration, creativity, problem-solving, risk-taking, and personal dedication. And they all have the common element of the inspiration to make our neighborhoods and our city better places to live. My next chore here is to introduce our special guest MC. Many of you know the voice of Debbie Monterrey from KMOX Radio, and if you've listened to Debbie for maybe more than 2 or 3 minutes, you know she's a city resident, and she is an unabashed city booster, one of our neighbors over in the Tower Grove South neighborhood. So when we were planning this event and we tried to identify an MC, Debbie was one of the first people that came to mind, and we were delighted when she agreed to do that. So I want to introduce to you Debbie Monterrey, the co-host of KMOX Total Information AM. Thank you.
Well, it is my pleasure to be here tonight. When Tom asked me if I would be interested, I didn't even have to think about it, because this event includes many of my favorite things all rolled into one. Spreading good news about the city, love to do that. Honoring and awarding people who are responsible for that good news in the city, love to do that. And I love being in a room full of people who love the city. Do we all love the city? All right. This is a party, so feel free to cheer and whoop, and we're going to have food out here. We've got our wonderful, handsome bartenders over there, so we're here for a celebration and to hear some great stories. I just also would like to add that I feel like over the years, the city has not always gotten the best media coverage, but we are slowly taking over the media. It's true. Just in my neighborhood alone, I think we have representatives from many Post-Dispatch reporters. There's me, there's Fox 2 represented, Channel 5, so we are slowly taking over the media, which is good. We need people to tell those good stories, and there are certainly many of them here today. When we tell these stories, Tom is going to hand out the awards. So I have a little bit to read here, but then feel free to just sort of slowly make your way up to the podium to get your award, and then we'd love to get a picture as well. If there is a neighborhood backer, it is definitely this person who really doesn't need an introduction, because if you don't know who this man is, you probably live in another state. So he told me not to give him a long introduction, but he definitely understands how important our neighborhoods are. He understands how important each and every one of you are in making our neighborhoods stronger and making our city stronger. And I'd like to introduce Mayor Francis Slay.
Thank you, Debbie, and be assured I'm not going to take up too much of your time, because we're here for some very important things, and that is to recognize so many individuals, projects, and programs that deserve to be recognized and celebrated here tonight with the Better Neighborhoods Awards. But first of all, you know, it kind of goes to what Debbie was saying earlier, but when people ask me what I like most about this job, what I tell them is that I really, really, really enjoy working with a lot of people and organizations that care about the city deeply and work hard to make it better. And being in a room full of people and organizations who do just that is where I want to be. And this is where I am proud to be tonight. And I'm here to join with you in celebrating some wonderful successes, and we certainly have plenty to celebrate in the city of St. Louis. And I want to thank the DeSales Community Housing Corporation for so many years of leadership in promoting revitalization of our neighborhoods, and promoting quality affordable housing, and promoting responsible property management, and celebrating the successes of so many people in various neighborhoods in our city, and helping support them do some things that are great. And we're going to be recognizing them tonight. I want to just congratulate and thank all those who are being recognized, the programs and the people behind them. The things that you are doing is really helping in neighborhoods as anchors and as catalysts for other development and ideas, and also provides a very good example of what can be done when you really put the right people and ideas together. In the city of St. Louis, there's certainly a lot to be done. But I'm here to just thank you, congratulate you, thank the DeSales Housing Corporation for its leadership. Certainly Tom Pickel and his staff and the board, and all the supporters and sponsors of this, and certainly Steve Akery, who is the person of the year. I met Steve when I was an alderman, when he was executive director of CDA. He did such a great job for the city and has continually provided tremendous leadership in the city on a whole host of fronts, which I know you're going to hear about tonight. But Steve, congratulations to you. Thank you for your great leadership. And again, thank you to DeSales, and thank you to all you are here for all you do to help make St. Louis a better place. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mayor Slay. And now I have my notes perfectly in order, and we're going to edit that other part out, so in the replay, it will be absolutely perfect. All right, 2800 Shenandoah. I think the great thing about tonight's event is we learn about properties we may not have been familiar with, and we learn about people that we didn't know before, and we can make great connections. And as you can see right there, 28 Shenandoah, before and after. It's a mixed-use building at the corner of Shenandoah in California in the Fox Park neighborhood had been vacant for nearly 10 years when Michelle and Mara Veramakis purchased it from DeSales in December of 2011. Now, there had been an earlier attempt to rehabilitate it, but that had failed. In 2004, DeSales had sold it to another rehabber who got started but then abandoned the project. DeSales filed suit to reclaim title to the building and prevailed in kind of a lengthy legal battle, and they got it back at the end of 2008. That's when Michelle and Mara started working and now nearing the completion of what is really a high-quality gut rehab of this building. The finished product includes 2 apartments on the 2nd floor and 2,200 square feet of commercial space on the 1st. So if you know a business that is looking for some really great space in a great neighborhood with plenty of parking, make sure to tell them about 2800 Shenandoah. Financing for this project has been provided by Carrollton Bank, and here to accept their Better Neighborhoods Award, Michelle and Mara Veramakis.
After we're done with the tuck pointing, I see how.
Can we get a quick photo out here?
We moved to St. Louis in 2008. Prior to that, we lived in California. Despite having 2 master's degrees and working 80 hours a week, I couldn't afford a house. We decided to leave California and had to choose where we wanted to move. It was either back to New York, where I'm from, or to St. Louis, where she's from. That was kind of an easy decision because I came to St. Louis once and fell in love with the buildings. I just walk around with my jaw on the floor because I love the brick that's here. Every single building amazes me. Stepping even further back, I should say that when I grew up in a home of construction. So my stepfather was involved in construction, my father attempted, and a lot of my uncles were involved in engineering. And the whole time I was in California, I was collecting articles and magazines and photos of things that I wanted to do in a house, but as I already told you, I couldn't afford a house to do it in. So when I came to St. Louis, I was so excited that I could buy a property and just explode all over it. I wanted to do everything, and I wanted to do everything right, and I wanted to have fun, and I had all these ideas, and this was a place where I could do it. And I started off with my house, because that's where everybody starts. That wasn't appreciated, by the way, initially. We bought the house. It was livable. But not livable to my standards. Most people probably would have moved in and been happy, and by the time she arrived 3 weeks later, I had it gutted. Uh-oh. After that, I moved on to a 2-unit building, just kind of a minor rehab, getting a feel for it again. And then after that, I bought my neighbor's house, and that's where Carrollton Bank comes in. I had rehabbed my house, and I knew my neighbor's house because it was nearly identical to mine, and I knew it was going to be successful, and I knew how much it was going to be down to the dollar because I knew what was inside every single wall, and I knew every single problem. And I went to like 12 banks, and this was in 2010 or 9, I think, and as you can imagine, they laughed at me. And every single one of them just shunned me away, and I was like, but look, I mean, I have a degree in mathematics. I have every single number down. I have proof of receipts on my house. I'm like, this works out. This makes sense. I can do this. I just did this. Why are you not giving me the chance? And every single bank went and they looked and they're like, oh, no, you don't fit into this box. You don't fit into that box. You don't fit into this box. And they just shooed me out the door. Until I came to Carrollton Bank and met Rob Burmeister here, who actually sat down and listened and actually looked at my numbers. And they decided to give me a shot and fund the project, which came out completely on budget and a little bit ahead of schedule, I might add. So now we move on to this project here. We were looking for a building for a while. We had an idea as to, we wanted to go bigger, grander. I wanted to, I had more ideas. I did the single family, I did the 2-family units. Now I wanted to do something commercial because that was just a new way for me to express myself. So we found this building, and it was very scary. And the bank will attest to it being very scary. The back wall was nearly ready to fall. The building, as they had described, was purchased 10 years ago. They attempted to do some rehab. Unfortunately, that rehab included putting nails in a roof. Not a good idea. Straight through the roof, they put a bunch of nails. They also removed the gutters. Not a good idea. So for 10 years, water poured through the inside and down the back wall of the building. The mortar was missing so deep you could stick your fingers in between the bricks and still not touch any mortar. I have no idea how the building was still standing. But it was a challenge I was ready to take on, because when you walk inside the building, and you guys definitely should come by and see it, it is amazing. It's got, the St. Louis 14-foot ceilings, tin ceilings, the brick inside walls. It's just absolutely beautiful. Still under construction, still needs a floor. We'll get that in at the end. But it really was an amazing space. And again, Carrollton stepped up and supported this purchase, so long as I fix the back wall first. But it's been coming along, and it's been great to be in this neighborhood. I'm not sure how familiar you guys are with Fox Park, but I think that people really just were done staring at this really ugly building that was about ready to fall. And as soon as we started work, the whole community just erupted. Strangers would just come up to me. Thank you. Thank you so much for doing this. This is great. We're so excited. This building needs it. Hundreds of people. Nonstop. Every single day, somebody new was coming up and just thanking you for working on a building, which is a really amazing feeling to know that while you're in there cleaning up literally 1,500 pounds of dead pigeons, 1,500 pounds, that, somebody appreciates the work that you're doing and the hours you're putting in and what you're doing to the building. So I wish I brought up some water, because I talk a lot. So as of right now, we have a new roof. We tuck pointed the building inside and out. We reframed it. We fixed all the broken joists, fixed the broken holes in the floor, new plumbing, new electric, new HVAC, you name it. The building is essentially new. So you're ready to turn that out. So we have about maybe a month and a half maybe left. Drywall's going in this week. And we appreciate the support that we have from everyone, and St. Louis in general, and DeSales, of course. And thank you very much.
Michelle and Mara Veramakis. All right, the Carondelet 21st Century Art Program. I didn't even know about this, and this is a really cool project. In 2009, the Carondelet neighborhood adopted the Carondelet 21st Century Strategic Plan, and a major component of the plan was the implementation of a public art program. With the assistance of the St. Louis Streets Department, Carondelet identity signs were first introduced along key neighborhood entryways, and then Carondelet industrial signage was placed along South Broadway. Stencils were used to paint the Carondelet seal on the pavement at major intersections, and artistic fence covers near Lions Park were designed and placed by artist Pete Wolliger. But the largest component of the plan so far has been the Murals on Broadway public art program. The program seeks to unite artists and community in a collaborative process to create art that transforms public spaces and individual lives. The Murals Committee of Carondelet Housing Corporation includes representatives of St. Louis Development Corporation, the Cultural Resources Office and Planning and Urban Design Agency, as well as the Regional Arts Commission, Carondelet Historical Society, and local businesses. So it has definitely been a neighborhood-wide project. 2 murals have been completed by local artists Vesna Delevska, Carrie Seven, and Joseph Schaefer, and planning is underway for 2 additional murals to begin this summer. Here to accept the Better Neighborhoods Award for Carondelet Community Betterment Federation and Carondelet Housing Corporation is CCBF Executive Director, Sister Mary Ann Nessel.
If you drive down South Broadway, it's a lot of industry. And we want people to know that Carondelet is a neighborhood for families. We have 5 parks, which we've redone. We were the first neighborhood to start concerts in the park. I thought my eardrums were going to explode Tuesday night because we had rock and roll in Finetti Park. Monday we had blues in Belle Reef Park as the boats went up and down and the moon came up. And then Sunday we had PowerPoint, which is an African-American group in Carondelet Park, and it rocked and rolled. I'm going to tell a story on the mayor about a few years back. He had moved into Loughborough Commons, and he heard somebody playing their radio really loud. And he went outside to see who it was, only to discover it was our concerts in Carondelet Park. So now he comes to them, so that's great. But we really want people to know that Carondelet is a neighborhood of culture and not just industry. that's important for us to have the signage. We have started a marketing program, which you'll start seeing on billboards, called Carondelet Living, because we want people not just to go up and down Highway 55, pull into Loughborough Commons and go to Schnucks and go to Lowe's, get back in their car and go on. We want them to come into our neighborhood and see what an exciting, wonderful, cultural place Carondelet is. Not just that we're renovating houses, we work very closely with DeSales. We have a three-part project of our housing. One is that we don't want to be in the business of apartments, so that's why we have partnered with DeSales. Our goal, our mission is to rehab houses, in single-family houses. And then we were so excited, it took us 2.5 years to invite Habitat for Humanities to come into our neighborhood. The first 5 houses will be occupied by the end of August or beginning of September. They're right on Bates and Grand, right by there's a Walgreens. And then the next phase 2 will be single-family homes, scattered site, LRA properties, 1 story. And then the third phase in 2013 will be 2-story houses. So that's our housing program. We're ecstatic to be partnering with Tom Pickel and with housing. And I'm delighted to be here. And come on, move into Carondelet. It's a fascinating neighborhood.
Don't forget your brick. That is Sister Mary Ann Nessel, who is so excited about Carondelet she forgot her brick. Oh, I'd also like to thank, let's see, we have 11th Ward Alderman Tom Villa with us today. There he is. All right, our next award is for Dick Gregory Place Apartments, and this is a great before and after. The Dick Gregory Place Apartments represents the first historic district redevelopment within the Greater Ville neighborhood of St. Louis. In December 2007, the City of St. Louis received approval for the Wagner Place National Register Historic District, and by March of 2008, Northside Community Housing, Inc. and the Greater Ville Neighborhood Preservation Commission began work on the redevelopment. Now, in total, 40 new apartments and approximately 3,000 square feet of community space were created in a total of 17 buildings. 15 of these were historic rehabilitations and 2 were new construction, and several of the historic buildings had to be extensively rebuilt. Dick Gregory Place Apartments was made possible by the strong support of 4th Ward Alderman Sam Moore, the City of St. Louis, and Mayor Slay's office. The development team included the Regional Housing and Community Development Alliance as development consultant, Grice Group Architects, and E.M. Harris Construction Company. The project is managed by Fox Grove Management. The $13 million project was financed through multiple sources, including state and federal historic and low-income housing tax credits, the City of St. Louis Community Development Administration, the St. Louis Affordable Housing Trust Fund, the Missouri Housing Development Commission, and federal stimulus funds. All apartments were leased upon completion in the fall of 2011. The project is 100% occupied. Here to accept the Better Neighborhoods Award, Harold Crumpton of Greater Ville Neighborhood Preservation Commission and Ernesia Coles of Northside Community Housing.
Thank you, DeSales Community Housing, for this recognition. On behalf of Northside Community Housing, I accept this award. Since the 1970s, Northside has been working to rebuild the Greater Ville neighborhoods of North St. Louis City. We had focused on rehabbing older buildings in the 70s and the 80s, and then we turned our focus to creating new subdivisions in 2003 with the help of RHCDA, Regional Housing and Community Development Alliance. So we have been working to provide safe, decent, attractive, affordable housing for low-income families. Many low-income families don't have many options in the city of St. Louis to live, but we want to make sure that the options that are available to low-income families are the best available in the city, in the Ville neighborhood, and that's been our focus. With that said, you saw some of the before and afters in the slides, but that's nothing like actually being on the block. When Harold Crumpton approached our organization and RHCDA about partnering to work on this development, our board was very hesitant. Some of the walls were actually down. There were some trees growing in the mortar of some of the buildings. It was just a tremendous task. But with the help of RHCDA, but especially Mayor Slay's office, the Cultural Resources Office had been trying to get the Ville neighborhood on the Register of Historic Places for a very long time. Their nomination for the neighborhood wasn't successful because of the number of demos, but they didn't stop there. They worked to try to identify pockets within the historic Ville that would be successful as a nomination. And so, as was stated in December 2007, Wagner Place, now known as Dick Gregory Place, was approved as a historic district. And so thanks to those funds and then work, Mayor Slay was instrumental in getting our application to the Missouri Housing Development Commission approved for low-income housing tax credits. And so coupled with that, everything seemed to fall in place. And now we've got an awesome development with families that are very proud to call that street home. And so Northside is working to do even more in the neighborhood. And we thank you for this recognition for our work. Thank you.
Isn't she a great partner? I really want to thank the mayor and Barb Geisman, who's not here, for their support for this idea. I was raised in this community. I used to work for a drugstore about 4 blocks from the location of the building that you all saw. And at the age of 11, I was always glad to get an order from that area, Wagner Place, because in Wagner Place were the great leaders of the black community. This is where they lived: doctors, lawyers, architects, college professors, etc. And so for me to come back 50 years or 60 years later and see what had happened to that community, and then one morning wake up and go to a meeting with Ernisha and see what we had transformed was a great experience to me. And I would recommend it for every community in the city. And in closing, I want to say this: how proud I am to be in such company, to be with these bankers who are taking chances to make sure that things work in this community. We can't make it without them. And to have organizations such as Stephen Akery's organization. My background was in telecommunications. I have seen homes built, but I had never built one or rebuilt one. But to have his organization and the talent within his organization to help us, they made this easy. And in closing, I want to say this, that we're continuing to work in Dick Gregory. We have 3 buildings, 2 new buildings that we are working on, and a rehab. So we intend to keep this going until we get some more support from the community. And again, thank you for this honor. And also I want to thank Ernisha and her organization. We couldn't have done it without you.
That's Ernisha Coles and Harold Crumpton. All right, let's talk about my neighborhood. Everybody here is very proud of their neighborhoods, as you can tell, and it takes a lot of people and a lot of love and a lot of partnerships to get all of these things done, and I think that's evident. It takes a village to rebuild a village, I guess, is the message. But the South Grand Community Improvement District's mission has been to cultivate a robust, supportive business climate on South Grand in order to make the Tower Grove Park area the strongest and most appealing in St. Louis, which I think it is. But I'm biased. The South Grand Great Streets Initiative supports this mission with an extensive program of street and sidewalk improvements, which have been designed to create a more inviting and more walkable, more sustainable streetscape. Some of the key features include wider sidewalks of pervious concrete. That's the kind that the water can actually soak into, which is cool. And reduction of the number of traffic lanes to reduce speeding cars and the amount of traffic going through, accessible parking spaces, and landscape beds that incorporate native species. Additional public improvements are still planned for the district, so they're not done yet. We'll be seeing new and improved lighting, more bike racks, benches, art installations, a new traffic signal at Grand and Juniata, and the installation of rain gardens as well. Now, this project could not have been possible without the support of Congressman Carnahan, Mayor Slay's office, Alderwoman Florida, Alderman Conway, the East-West Gateway Council of Governments, multiple city departments, and the hard work of the general contractor, Cosney Wagner. Now, phases 1 and 2 have been funded with a $3 million federal stimulus grant. Phase 3, the rain garden installation, will be funded by a $376,000 grant from the Missouri Department of Natural Resources and a $370,000 grant monies coming from other partners and in-kind contributions. Here to accept the Better Neighborhoods Award for the South Grand Streets Initiative, please say hello to South Grand Community Improvement District's President, Dave McCreary, and Executive Director, Rachel Witt.
Again, this could have not been made possible without some stimulus money from Russ Carnahan, that we got some ERA funding, and Mayor Slay to make this possible, and Steve Conway and Jennifer Florida. Phase 1 got a little quicker start because of the funding. Because of that, we have what you saw on the slides today. And then Phase 2, we got the word today at our board meeting. We have a representative from East-West Gateway in the back. She's take a wave. That Phase 2 will be starting next month. And so what you see with the pervious concrete and the planter boxes, they're going to be more extensive fencing around the planter boxes. There's going to be art installation. There's going to be bike racks. There's going to be benches. Finishing the sidewalk to Utah Place. The residents on Utah Place on the west side will be able to make a left-hand turn onto Grand. And then the lights, I'm excited, are going to be synchronized traffic signals. So that's going to help a lot with traffic. So that's very exciting to help with that. I know a lot of residents have been concerned about that, but it's coming. I was told today that's the first thing that's going to happen is synchronizing the traffic signals and then installing the new lighting in the district. We're getting 64 new lights. The Cobra lights are getting pulled and new lighting is going to come in, and it's going to reflect better into the night sky, so it's a better walking for pedestrians and for cars as well. So it's going to be a lot brighter on South Grand. Again, this project couldn't have been made possible without the commitment of the South Grand Community Improvement District Board of Directors and the support of the businesses. They are so ecstatic about what's happening and what's coming soon. And we were discussing today, like with 64 being closed and the Grand Viaduct being closed, and then our construction, wow, our sales are going to go down, South Grand's going to be affected. But it didn't. Our sales tax actually have gone up with all the renovations and construction and closures. So it shows the dedication of the community and the neighborhood supporting South Grand. So please continue supporting us. And on South Grand, there's so much more coming, so much more improvement, and we're being more green, helping with the stormwater issues that we face here in St. Louis. Hopefully we're the start of the pilot of what's to come for streetscape renovations, for pervious concrete and rain gardens to move on this green movement in the city of St. Louis and set an example for a region and for the state of Missouri. And it's exciting to be on the forefront of this. And it couldn't have been made possible without East-West Gateway involvement and design workshop, who was the design team who thought such visionary ideas for South Grand. A lot of people thought 1 lane each way on South Grand, no way, this is a terrible idea. But it has worked, it has calmed traffic, people feel more comfortable crossing the streets. It's just exciting to see more people engaged and the community engaged. And it's just an honor to accept this award today on behalf of the South Grand Community Improvement District, and as well as being a board of director for DeSales Housing Corporation. So thank you so much.
You know, I want to thank Rachel, because let me tell you what, without her involvement in this thing, there would have been more stumbling blocks and all that, but she'd identify these things way up front, bring them to the board and say, guys, we gotta, you know, we gotta, and anybody that knows Rachel can really appreciate what I'm telling you. One of the things, Tim Boyle is another one of our directors who's been very, very active in making this thing happen, all right? I want to tell you something. Each one of us bring memories here, all right? And I'm going to tell you what my memory is, When I first got involved with the Grand South Grand Redevelopment District, we had a meeting in the bank, in the basement of the bank. Fran was there along with some other folks. And you know what? You'd get together and people from the business district would come together. And you know what they said? If those people would just do the right thing, we wouldn't have the problems that we got. And you know who they pointed to? They pointed to downtown. They pointed to the neighborhoods that were struggling in the situation at the same time. And they pointed to somebody other than themselves. And with the board of directors that we got put together, and the long haul pulls that the stocks and so many did every day, we got that turned around. If it's going to get better, we got to make it better. We got to determine where that wagon has got to go, and we got to pull it, and we got to invite other people to get behind and push it. And folks, come and help us. And it'll help you. And it worked. By coming together as a community and recognizing that it's not them and not anybody other than the fact that we have got to pull together. And that's what's happening here, isn't it? We come a long way, baby. Thank you very much for the award.
UIC, Urban Improvement Company. UIC is a multidiscipline company with expertise in property development, general contracting, architecture, urban design, and custom fabrication. The company was founded in 2005 by partners Brent Crittenden and Sarah Gibson, who also happen to be husband and wife. UIC has quickly become an active part of the redevelopment of the city of St. Louis, especially here in the Botanical Heights neighborhood. In December 2006, the firm purchased a vacant building at 4301 McCree from the Garden District Commission. The GDC is a nonprofit sponsored by the Missouri Botanical Garden that's charged with the redevelopment of Botanical Heights, formerly known as McCreetown. Following extensive rehabilitation, Brent and Sarah moved not only their company offices onto the first floor, but moved their family onto the second floor. And with business partner Chris Hulse, UIC is developing Botanical Grove, 30 new and rehabilitated LEED registered homes in the 4200 block of McCree. The group, along with partner Cletus Stratman, is also the developer, architect, and general contractor of the project that we are in today, the new home of City Garden Montessori. The same development package includes the renovation of an old gas station at 1634 Tower Grove Avenue. That'll house a new restaurant that is opening this fall. In all, UIC has created more than $13 million in development in the Botanical Heights neighborhood in just 5 years, with further plans. In fact, they have a little handout you can look at of all the plans that they have for the coming years. Now, beyond this, Sarah and Brent have contributed countless hours of their personal time and professional services to various neighborhood improvement projects. For all of their work in the redevelopment of Botanical Heights, we're happy to present a Better Neighborhoods Award to UIC.
Just so I stay on task a little bit. Tom asked if I give a little bit of a background on the neighborhood and tell a few more details. So bear with me a little bit. I just to start off with, it's been a really exciting partnership. We moved back here from London, Sarah and I, in 2003, and quickly met Chris and really hit it off. And it's been a great partnership through the years. We were fortunate enough to kind of stumble across the building across the street at 4301 McCree. That's our office, and Sarah and my home with our 3 daughters bought it for the grand sum of $35,000 from the GDC in 2006, and that kind of got us anchored in this neighborhood. And we were eager, coming back to St. Louis after traveling around quite a bit and living different places, to have somewhere that we could really build upon, and this was an exciting opportunity. And we're real grateful for the partnership with the Missouri Botanical Garden and Bob Hurlith and all that he's done for us to support it, even though, if you know Bob, fairly conservative, and a bunch of young upstart architects and builders wanted to come along, but he's been very supportive of us and very helpful. And then the Garden District Commission and all the board members who spent a lot of time and commitment and support for what we do. So to back up on the neighborhood a little bit, we got involved in 2006 as McBride & Sons was completing the first phase, which involved 150 homes that are 2 blocks over my shoulder to the east. At that time, this part of the neighborhood was sort of in limbo, a question about what you do with it. There had been a lot of demolition, there were a lot of vacant properties, and we immediately began advocating for doing a mixed-use development which preserve the historical integrity of the neighborhood to the greatest extent possible, while also infilling with a compatible product and doing the whole thing on kind of a green vision. So creating this walkable mixed-use neighborhood on green standards. And I can say from where we stand today and the little bit of success we've had so far, really kind of the underlying qualities that we wanted to put in the neighborhood and some of the standards that we've kind of insisted on really have been the cornerstone of our success, and we really kind of embolden what we feel about neighborhood redevelopment in the city of St. Louis. So what we're up to now in this endeavor is we've got 30 homes on this first phase. We've actually sold 11 so far. The majority of those are actually to families, thanks to great institutions like City Garden, St. Margaret's of Scotland, St. Louis Language Immersion, all the people involved in education that help build the community for families to be in the city long term and continue to grow that base, and particularly City Garden. This building and the relationship with Christy Huck and her staff and their commitment to kind of take a chance on us again and anchor this neighborhood. This building's 30,000 square foot. If you look at an aerial of this, a map of this neighborhood, it's a massive part of it. And without this, you really couldn't get around it. It touches elevations on 3 streets, so it's really a huge anchor. I can't wait to see all the kids in here have all these white walls filled up with artwork and all the life that I'm sure they'll bring to it, and hopefully for many years to come. In the future, we've got some exciting things coming up very close. Ben Paremba, who some of you know from Salume Badu, the meat curing business that's developing an excellent reputation both regionally and nationally, is going to open up Elia and Elio, which is a restaurant and wine bar, in the old gas station, which is being restored to its original 1930 state. Ben has brought in Simone Farr, who's the current pastry chef at the Ritz-Carlton in Clayton. Simone is going to start her own endeavor, her own pastry shop with coffee in the mornings, and then occasionally on the weekends, desserts to supplement the restaurant. So that'll be great. We have a potential bakery going on in the middle of the neighborhood, featuring rustic artisan bread. So we've got sweets and bread on opposite ends of the block. And then we're in the early stages of acquisition and funding of 80 green apartments. So we're going to use the same standards we've developed and techniques on the residential units we've done here and roll them out on a rental scale that'll really have a big impact and kind of finally stitch what we've done so far to the development that was done by McBride & Sons. And then eventually another 25 new units. So it's pretty exciting, moving faster than we had anticipated thanks to the hard work of a lot of people around us. I want to thank a few more people and other institutions really quickly. Midwest Regional Bank, who's done the financing for the residential portion and most of the mortgages, took a huge risk on us when there really wasn't much on the 4200 block of McCree. People's National Bank, who's the lender on this building, the leverage lender, along with U.S. Bank CDC, who is the tax credit investor, the IFF, who was City Garden's lender, that made the whole deal stand up, and then lastly the SLDC, Alderman Rohde, Alderman Davis, and the mayor's office, who really were thankful that create a pro-development, progressive environment that we can comfortably operate in this. And having worked in cities like London and Rotterdam and New York, I can really say this is a great place to be an architect and to set out with a progressive standard for development. So thankful to them. Lastly, a couple more people, Dean Wright and Allison Spann, our executive staff who we couldn't live or function without, and our project managers, Dan Jones and Ben Myers, and all of our staff. And finally, I really wanted to say a kind of heartfelt thanks to Tom Pickel for all he's done for us. We've been kind of collaborators on this for about 7 years and really kind of finding our way through development, coming from an architecture and construction background, but getting into that and really has helped us get over so many of the hurdles that are involved with structuring deals and the negotiations and all of the ins and outs of it. We really couldn't have done it without Tom's mentorship to us. So thank you.
For the very first Better Neighborhoods Person of the Year, Stephen Acree was the unanimous choice of the selection committee. Stephen has been with the Regional Housing and Community Development Alliance since 1999 and has been its executive director and president since late 2002. He was born and raised in the city of St. Louis, worked in 3 successive City of St. Louis mayoral administrations, and is the former director of the City of St. Louis Community Development Agency. Under Stephen's leadership, RHCDA has become a strong force for improvement in the St. Louis region. As developer, consultant, and technical assistance provider, RHCDA has created projects and programs that are building strong, healthy neighborhoods. Recent projects include the mixed-use Crown Square in Old North St. Louis, the Dick Gregory Place Apartments that we've already learned about, Fairview Village Senior Apartments in Jennings, and Sinai Village in East St. Louis. Programs include capacity building for neighborhood-based organizations, GIS database and mapping services, and group training. RCHCA has been a partner in the formation of the new Community Builders Network of Metro St. Louis. Stephen combines an extensive background in community development, exceptional skills in financing multifamily and single-family housing, and a personal dedication to improving the quality of life in St. Louis neighborhoods. He is a sought-after mentor and advisor on neighborhood revitalization strategies and organizational development. Now, for these reasons, we are proud to present him with the 2012 Better Neighborhoods Person of the Year Award. And here to present Stephen's award is Peter Benoit, who is President and CEO of Enterprise Bank and Trust and the Chair of the Board of Directors of the Regional Housing and Community Development Alliance. So please say hello to Peter Benoit.
I just want to put my banker's hat on for a minute. I want to salute Tom Pickel. I don't know the last time I saw 4 rows of bankers all in one room. But I would say this, the banking industry is not necessarily getting great press these days. And in the context of this row of bankers, I would like to just salute them and thank them for the work they're doing. These are organizations that are committed to the community. They work hard, as you know. They are not reflected in what you're reading in the press. And I'm just proud to be associated with this group, so I just wanted to acknowledge that. Thank you. Debbie's given the intro, so that's great. I appreciate it. What I want to do is just make a few comments about Stephen from my perspective. I, first of all, can't think of anybody who's more deserving of this award than Stephen for a whole host of reasons. All of you know Stephen, if you're in community development work at all. As head of RHCDA, some people don't really understand the impacts that organization has had in St. Louis, and it's been pretty significant. The organization's been responsible for developing over 1,800 homes and apartments, and that represents over $250 million in housing investment, and at the same time has assisted in the development of an additional 2,000 homes and apartments, and that represents another $300 million in housing investment, predominantly in the city. And while those numbers, I think, are impressive, it's not the numbers that RHCDA, Stephen and his staff are committed to. It's community revitalization. And that comes from leadership and Stephen's leadership. And in that context, they really have made impressive strides and have helped numerous organizations in a host of different ways. The mayor mentioned that Stephen had been the executive director of CDA for the city. He did do that under 3 successive administrations, which is a feat in and of itself. I think you would agree. It shows that Stephen has a lot of patience, obviously, and a lot of commitment. I bring that up for 2 reasons. One, during his tenure, CDA received 5 national awards from HUD. I don't know that any other CDA agency has ever received 5 national awards, which I think is a good indication of his leadership in that respect. But I think the other thing I would mention, and given my involvement with RHCDA, I learned about Stephen early on, is that he doesn't believe that development is about development. Development is about engaging communities. And I think the one thing I learned from him in terms of his model is that you have to engage the community first, you have to listen to the community, you have to respect the community, and then you begin to think about developing the community. And in that context, it sort of encapsulates, I think, RHCDA's model and why Stephen and RHCDA have been so successful. Just on a personal note, I actually worked with Stephen at RHCDA for about 3 years, and then joined the board, and I'm currently on the board as chair. And I guess in that context, I would say a couple of things. First, I really don't know of anyone who's more committed to neighborhood revitalization in our community than Stephen. He's extremely dedicated in his work. He's creative in his approach. He's compassionate in his demeanor. And he's extremely effective in everything he engages in. I will say this on a lighter note. I Googled Stephen. I then went on his face page. I then LinkedIn him. And I couldn't come up with one thing to embarrass him with this evening, so I apologize to you for that. I then decided to engage the RHCDA staff and see if they could come up with sort of any dirt on Stephen, and they all clammed up on me. So unfortunately, I wasn't able to do that. I will say Stephen is an absolute unsung hero here in St. Louis. He is a community leader. He's a real community asset. I consider him a true friend, and it gives me great pleasure and great honor on behalf of DeSales Community Housing Corp. To present the Person of the Year for Neighborhood Revitalization, Stephen Acree.
I'm not really good at this, and I do choke up a little bit. But I kind of feel like after everything that's been said, maybe I probably should retire now. I need to stop now. But I really believe very strongly that it's everybody in this room and other people like everyone in this room that is what is making everything happen that RHCDA is involved in and that I've been involved in throughout my career. And there's so many people who are unsung heroes, and especially the people who live in neighborhoods that dedicate tremendous amount of times just because they're so committed to the communities that they belong to and the neighborhoods that they live in, that it's truly a pleasure for me to do the kind of work that I do. And so I'm really blessed to be able to be successful in the kind of work that I love. So I would be remiss if I didn't say that I wouldn't be able to do what I do without having an incredibly talented staff that's totally committed to the kind of work that we do. And if there's any credit for what RHCDA brings to the community, it goes to them. So thanks a lot.
Stephen Acree, Person of the Year. And please don't stop. And the mayor is issuing a proclamation tonight that you're not allowed to retire, just so you know. You probably have heard a lot of buzz about City Garden Montessori. I know I have. Every time I turn around, I bump into somebody who says, do you know about this City Garden Montessori? And all this great buzz when they're practically on top of each other in the basement of a church. So if you can imagine what they can do in this building once they move in, we would be remiss without just hearing a little bit about the plans for City Garden Montessori from Christy Huck.
Good evening, and on behalf of City Garden's board, staff, parents, and our students, I want to welcome you to our brand new home. I don't know if you heard it, but things are literally still being completed and finished. There are some cleaners in the background, even tonight, working on rooms back there. So we are moving this weekend into our new home here, and it's really exciting that this has been the very first of what we hope will be many community events in this space. And it's been so inspiring to hear all of the stories tonight and to be surrounded by people who are so dedicated to our city and to our neighborhoods. City Garden's charter school grew out of parents in these surrounding neighborhoods, Forest Park Southeast, Botanical Heights, Shaw, Tiffany, Southwest Garden, who became determined that we need more quality options in our city as far as schools. And so it's been a very grassroots development, parents meeting and just developing the vision for our charter school. And we started in 2008 in Tyler Place Presbyterian Church and have been in the basement of a church for these last 5 years. And so the kids and parents and teachers are just ecstatic to come over here and be in our new space and figure out how to live in our new environment. So we're really excited to open our new building to you all, and we do, part of our mission is to be an anchor in the neighborhoods that we serve in this neighborhood. We're thrilled to partner with Botanical Heights and have been so excited to work with UIC. I think our project, just as all of the ones that have been talked about tonight, are great examples of how when nonprofits and for-profits, as well as civic leaders and neighborhood community members come together, we can do such great things in our city and in our neighborhood. So thank you so much. I invite you to wander around and check out the space if you'd like. There are a couple other staff members here, and I know Brent and his staff can answer questions as well. And I want to invite you to come back for our ribbon cutting event, which will be our official opening to the public on August 23rd. 4:30 p.m. So thank you so much. It's been a great event.
That is Christy Huck. And that concludes the awards portion of tonight's awards presentation for the DeSales 2012 Better Neighborhoods Awards. But as Peter Benoit pointed out, if you have a project that you are pitching, we have bankers here, we have architects here, we have community leaders here. So now would be a good time to grab a drink. Some hors d'oeuvres are coming out because we know a lot of you skipped dinner. So please stick around, exchange business cards, and I can't wait to see you at the second annual awards next year. Thank you for coming.